Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
Brace yourself for something fuel-nominal. Unleaded 88 is the clear fuel choice. It's cheaper, cleaner, and greener. And it's grown by Iowa corn farmers. Now that's totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88.
Hello, everyone. Once again, welcome to another episode of Second and Saints. I'm John Hendricks alongside Ross Jacks. I'm happy to have you back.
I'm so happy to be back.
I know, right?
So happy to be back.
It was a fun little day off that we had yesterday. Did you do anything fun?
Just sleep count, because that's what I did a lot of. I did a lot of sleeping.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. So I got to do a kind of like the LA scene.
Good.
Had the family in town, all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. So we did the Hollywood, Santa Monica Pier, all that fun stuff.
Good stuff.
Just enjoying SoCal. So definitely a fun little day. And now day 8, the Saints training camp's in the book. We're back at it. A lot more action. Today felt like one of the better days. More balanced day, I guess I would say. It obviously wasn't without blemish, but I'm trying to think where we should probably begin. But I guess let's start with some transactional stuff, right? Yeah. Bringing back Marquez Callaway, right? And you had Tommy Hudson get waived, injured, reverted back to IR today. And then as far as other moves, they brought in Samson Nacua, not Puka Nacua, but Samson Nacua and stuff. And so the wide receivers are kind of nicked up, as Dennis Allen said.
Yeah.
But, we're going to have some of this number by attrition stuff. Nathan Peterman's gone. He got cut. But, another receiver got hurt today.
Yep.
Jermaine Jackson left practice. Looks like he pulled up on a kick return. It looked like it was his hamstring. Again, I'm no doctor, but if I do 1 and 1, I get 2 usually, right? But it looked like another injury for the Saints. They didn't make it out without an injury. But, what was your overall take on that and maybe some of these moves?
Yeah, I think the moves are interesting. It's funny. A lot of us were talking about, like, all right, they went and got Puka Nacua's brother. They went and got Amon-Ra St. Brown's brother. And it's funny because they effectively brought in Samson Nacua to replace Equinemius St. Brown, because they're kind of the same type of player, same prototype. I mean, big bodied, 6'3" plus 200 plus pound wideouts that could be good blockers and things like that. I actually thought Samson looked pretty good today. Like, he was fun to watch, especially during one-on-ones, but it was kind of all that we really got to see of him. So I'm curious to see more of him, but I think that it all comes down to the injuries and everything. But I'll tell you what I really liked, or what not what I really liked, but the thing that spoke loudest to me amongst all the transactions here recently was the terminating of Nate Peterman's contract. Nathan Peterman, the quarterback, because they had to terminate a guy in order to get a guy back, in order to add. So it was kind of the corresponding move to Nacua being signed. And I thought that signing just shows a lot of, I think, comfort. Yeah. That the Saints have in Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler, or Jake Haener, if you prefer to say it that way. It's
some fighting words to some people.
to me, this was kind of the vote of confidence for their young guys that said, okay, we don't have to have the veteran in the building anymore. We feel really good about where Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler are, and feel good about moving ahead. And I think it paid off today, because I thought both those guys had strong days. And I thought that both of them had strong days because they got in the rhythm. Because there wasn't like Nathan Peterman jumping in and taking like a pair of snaps, away from somebody. And instead, you really got to see everybody kind of catch a rhythm. And I thought that was good, because they needed it. They needed to catch that rhythm late, because they kind of got punched in the mouth a little early.
Yeah, encouraging sign, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. And we were wondering, we talked about the other day that, the QB2 battle maybe hasn't been as as good as we thought it was going to be. And then naturally, look what happens. They probably listen to our show and like, I'll show you a thing or two.
Yeah,
and they had like one of their best days, and it was both of them. Jake Haener looked sharp.
Yeah.
He threw for 2 touchdown passes. He also had that scramble for 1. Spencer Rattler throws a good touchdown. They both had touchdown passes in one-on-one. So it was a really good day from both of them, and it's an encouraging sign. I mean, they brought in Peterman to help with the playbook. He was Derek Carr's backup in Las Vegas a little bit. He's obviously been on a lot of teams. He's got that familiarity with Andrew Janocko and such, but a good nod to both of these guys, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. And so, look, maybe now we've got more of a QB2 battle. I think today was the best example of the quarterback 2 battle that we've seen all camp. And I mean, we're 8 days into this whole thing, but, and this is 4th padded practice, if you will. And so it was good to see both quarterbacks respond. Now, I think people are obviously going to jump the gun and be like, all right, both of them going to come for Derek Carr's job, which is not happening. Right. Stop. And of course, if he gets hurt, that's another thing. But, this sets up really an interesting preseason now, too, because
100%.
You're going to see probably each quarterback maybe get a whole game or at least get an entire half. They don't have to split those reps between anybody else. So I'm really fascinated to see how they divvy this up against Arizona, when we get to that point, which is August 10th. I remember the date today.
There you go.
But, I'm really interested to see when they do put that out there. And what's cool is you see these developmental reps. Like this has been a cool add to practice too.
Yeah, I do like these a lot.
We saw Daenerys McGee, he was actually, doing some play calling, not
assistant wide receivers coach.
Assistant wide receivers coach. And then he's able to do some plays. It gives everybody another chance. But man, quarterback 2 and 3 battle at this point, if they keep playing like this, I feel good about, based off of today, if they play like this, if Carr were to get hurt, I feel good about both of them. Yeah.
I think there's some good stuff that they both showed. And look, if I'm the Saints, I start Jake Haener up against Atlanta. I give him the respect of being the incumbent guy, right? Coming back, all that stuff, already being the guy. So I give him the first. So I would give him the first half, give Rattler the second half. Then I'd just flip it up against the San Francisco 49ers, Rattler the first half, and then Haener the second half, and then let that be what it is. And then maybe figure stuff out against Tennessee based upon how much DC wants to play and all that. But yeah, I think those guys are in for now a much more productive offseason now moving forward, because they'll be able to get in rhythm. They'll get those extra developmental snaps. There's just a lot more of that stuff going on. And I want to make sure that I really highlight what you said, because I think you're one of the few people, or maybe the only person that really even caught that Daenerys McGee was calling plays today. But it's just a cool thing to see Dennis Allen using those developmental reps to not only develop those second and third team guys or those third and fourth team guys, but also develop the coaching. Really, really good. Really, really cool stuff. That is one of those things. I'm probably going to regret saying this, but that feels Peyton-esque. That feels like something that it's all Dennis Allen. It's all Dennis Allen. I'm not trying to give Sean Payton credit for something that Dennis Allen is saying, but what I'm saying is that it is something that feels like what Sean Payton would have done. And that's one of your top end coaches in the league and all those other things. I just think it's a smart choice from Dennis Allen, who's not one of the top end coaches in the league, to have that kind of wherewithal to support the development of his coaching staff. I just think that's a class move. That's awesome.
I think so. And we've seen the Saints kind of put some of these coaches into positions, right? Senior Bowl has gotten more assistants involved. They've put players through the development meeting that they have, sometimes some of the other coaches that they do. And so again, I've seen it more than a few times. And so I think that is good. And of course we don't rank Sean Payton and Dennis Allen even in the same category right now. But, again, one of the things you're just talking about with DA is just, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's a different coach, right? You know what I'm saying? But I do see semblances like today, we traded back. You're with the offense, I was defense. They were just doing something simple like walk through sevens, right? With the defense. And, it's interesting because the defense has to know the route just as good as the offense. The defensive players that are simulating offense have to know the routes just as good as the defense.
Yeah.
And so they weren't running it the way they should, and just a little walkthrough. And DA got a little bit mad at it and stuff. And so I don't know. I would like to see more accountability, more fire under him. I liked how he did call out Kendra Miller early. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you, A.T. Perry, which he had a really good responding day today, which is good to see. But, as a coach, with a team and a track record like that, you've got to do something different to avoid having another almost finish with man, we could have just done this better and all this other stuff. He's got to do something different, right? And so, but it's good to see him develop not only players but coaches, because I think that's what they talk about it a lot. But they're also one of the few teams I feel like that actually do it too.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot too. So it was a really good thing to see today. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed watching the quarterbacks. I thought Derek Carr had a nice day today too.
Yeah,
he had his very first pass got batted down at the line of scrimmage by Colin Saunders, and I think it was the very next play. It was two players meeting in the backfield for a sack. And I went, oh Lord, here we go again.
Yeah,
it was Wednesday all over again.
Yeah, it looked like the defense was just going to roll over them again.
Yeah, but then the offense really punched back today. I thought Derek Carr punched back today. I thought there was some really innovative stuff in the play calling. We saw another jet sweep, but before the jet sweep was a split zone motion. So the split zone release is a release where you have a tight end start on one side of the formation, start motion behind the line of scrimmage, snap the ball while they're in motion, and then they run free and clear to the opposite side of the line of scrimmage to get an early head start on a route, or maybe an early head start and head of steam for a block, which is exactly what happened when Dallin Holker got a full head of steam and laid one down over on almost at Andrews Pete Werner over on the left sideline. And then we saw them build off of that and then later run a fake jet sweep with Spencer Rattler under center, but then pitch the ball instead. So they faked the sweep, pitched to Jordan Mims. Jordan Mims had green grass for 30 yards for a rushing touchdown. So I thought they did a really good job bouncing back and building off of some tendencies that they were creating during the practice process to kind of be able to show, okay, here's what the system has to offer, which is really kind of what this is. You build out a base and you say, okay, what can we add to this? What can we add to that? What can we add to that? And then that's how you kind of like innovate the crap out of your offense so that you're giving yourselves the same looks over and over again, but running so many different things out of those looks.
Ross Jackson will always teach you something, which is always great. So hopefully you come to this podcast. There's the way he was able to break down formations. Just appreciation for that, because the fans here, you do deserve to know stuff like that. And we've talked about stuff on different route concepts and all that, and just to help educate fans and stuff. So, but I want to give credit where it's due on that one, obviously.
Yeah, thank you.
But no, I think the creative wrinkles is something, we're seeing, like a joke, because we haven't seen the end around really work at all.
Right.
But I think we're seeing other run concepts, like more tosses, more pitches, more full or halfback flips, like what Drew used to do. I think we're just seeing more of those wrinkles than just a handoff and then try to get something. Like they're trying to, lo and behold, run outside. What a concept! But they're doing it in a creative way, and I think we've seen some more creative wrinkles. I mean, we saw Chris Olave get wide open over across the middle. We've seen Dallin Holker get wide open across the middle. Like, this was a good day for Dallin Holker.
Big day, his best day.
Yeah, for sure. We hadn't seen him much. And I tell you, one of the best things I appreciate, he was drawn with Carl Granderson because he put Carl Granderson on the ground.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do that to Carl Granderson, because Carl Granderson is a grown man. But Dallin Holker had an awesome rep, and then they jawed about it. Like,
wasn't that on the Taysom Power? No. I remember what happened on the Taysom Power.
Yeah,
we'll get to
Power
that.
is different.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But no, I thought that was a big moment too, because I mean, this is your undrafted free agent rookie that's like coming up. Yeah, taking out your edge rusher. And Carl Granderson was not happy about it. He took exception to it, but I don't blame him. I probably would have too. Goodness.
Yeah, let's see. You got the one that he did. You mentioned the one against Warner. And I have to find out where it was again, but it'll come up to it. But yeah, it was just something to appreciate. It was in team, and then again, just being able to do that, and we haven't seen that from Dallin Holker yet. So we know he can be a pass threat, which he did catch a touchdown over the middle and in the red zone, which is an excellent job. It was an excellent throw too.
Yep.
And so I think that for him to put together good practice in different phases is a good thing as well. Huge. Right? Not just catching, not just getting open. They did have an illegal shift on one play, which that happens and stuff. You're a rookie. You're gonna get there. But again, I was happy and pleased with a lot of players today. And I think the best part is to appreciate is it was a lot of the young players.
Yeah, it really was.
Like Anthony Orji, he was all over the place today. I wrote in my notes, and I did like the Control F type thing and just typed in his name, and it came up like 12 times or something. Like he just made that big of an impact on run stop, tackle for loss, like explosive plays. And you got to talk to us a little bit today, but again, we talked about the Saints linebacking core and the fact that no Jalen Ford today.
Yep.
That was something we'll have to keep tabs on, but DeMario either. And
right.
So next man up mentality.
Yep.
DeMarco Jackson was in there kind of filling in for DeMario in that role, but just seeing the youth, and I thought Taliesin Fuanga had some really good reps today.
Yeah, he looked nice.
And him and Trevor Penning, but it wasn't
struggled
without.
Early,
it was a struggle early. Like the offense really struggled out the gate. We thought it was, like Ross said, that it was going to be another day where I joked with them the other day and said, by my charting, I had them at 19 sacks the other day at practice, which is, again, I explained the caveat on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, looking at the notes, like I'm being serious, like they did out of like 60 something plus plays. They got it there about a third of the time. And today wasn't as much. It still needs some refinement. But encouraging to see the youth get there where they need to, and then also the offense responding. I just feel like those are two good things to see from practice that have to be highlighted.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing to kind of say too is when it comes to those guys getting into the backfield, it's because they're playing well.
Yeah.
Like the defensive line and the edge rushers are playing really well. You can see them winning on their pass rush moves. You can see them winning on their counter moves and all that. I asked Isaiah Foskey a little bit about his thoughts on Taliesin Fuanga, and he started talking about his hand movements, which is something that you had pointed out earlier on in camp, to where he'll flash a hand to get you to commit to a move and then be ready to counteract that move and stuff like that. So he's just got like this great brain for the game that I think is really cool. And it's cool to hear that from Isaiah Foskey as well, who is another guy that again stood out today.
Pretty good practice.
Foskey,
stringing them together.
Yeah, Foskey and Turner have been consistent, which has been really nice. I think that's the big thing everybody wants from them is consistency, as well as health, right? That's obviously got to be the biggest thing, which I think on the Isaiah Foskey side of that, I think it's been a little premature, like saying things about Isaiah Foskey's health
stuff all last year.
Yeah,
his just couldn't get right.
Season. Everything. And so, but he's like in a completely different place mentally. Alontae Taylor talked about being in a completely different place mentally. Trevor Penning talked about being in a completely different place mentally. Like everybody's kind of come in with a real understanding of where they are versus where they want to be. Even Chris Olave mentally different, according to Alontae Taylor, and some of the things that John and I have heard back that up too. And so it's just a really nice thing to see these guys all kind of showing up here and watching them get better and better and better every day. I thought Olave had another strong day.
Yep.
I thought that Mason Tipton maybe had one of his weakest days, but
still a good day for him. But he still
had a couple nice plays.
At the end he turned it on.
Yeah, that great catch over the middle of the field. I believe it was from Haener. And then Haener had this really nice pass. So right out of the formation, snap, 3-step drop in time, got the ball out to the front pylon. You probably remember the front pylon plays from the Drew Brees days. Mm-hmm. And then they started attacking the back of the end zone with guys like Jameis and Dalton and stuff like that. But they used to always attack the front pylon way more than they attacked the back of the end zone. And we saw that a lot today, actually. A lot of attacking the front pylon in the red zone. And so just a quick snap, 3 steps, boom, deliver on time. Mason Tipton comes out of his out route on his break, turns around, balls there, boom, catch right at the goal line, touchdown. Like really, really nice stuff from those guys. So I thought it was a really, really good day. I think this was my favorite day of practice so far because of the amount of winning that was happening on both sides of the football.
Yeah, I'd buy that. I think that the offense had a lot more chirping to do.
That's true.
And again, out of the defense's skin a little bit.
Very passionate Jamal Williams today.
Yeah, buddy. Ooh, he did not like what happened in that run inside with Carl Granderson. It's just like we're not trying to sing about Carl, but like again, another one that came out and Jamal Williams probably beefed at them probably for a good 2 minutes.
Oh yeah,
that just kept going, and so it was
no fights though.
No fights or scuffles, right?
A little bit. Yeah, a little.
How you doing? What's going on? Hey, what's up?
A little bit of that, but nothing else.
You brought up the Taysom play earlier. So this is the first day we saw Taysom at quarterback.
Yes.
He did the QB power. I'm not going to spoil it, but talk about the play.
Power it was.
Not from Taysom.
Yeah, man. He ran. Was it him that hit that? Was he the collision? Or did somebody else get?
It was DeMarco Jackson.
Yeah.
DeMarco Jackson came in there and just
thumped big time, but then also ended up on the ground.
Yes.
Everything. So like Taysom,
nuts.
like put the Womack on him.
Yeah.
So it was a heck of a play.
Yeah.
And then Taysom ended up bouncing it out to the outside, everything like that. But it was classic Taysom.
Yeah.
Classic Taysom Hill. I can't wait for contact Taysom Hill. You know what I mean?
Just want to hit somebody.
Taysom just want to hit somebody Hill. Like, that's what it all was. It was a great moment. And it was great to see, because we have been hearing that they were going to continue to utilize him at the quarterback position. They were going to continue to run him from the quarterback position. And this was the first time all off season that we've actually seen it. On the Jake, so these two things are relevant, but Dennis Allen gave an update about Jake Haener's skin cancer diagnosis, so that he was going to be undergoing a procedure on Monday, and that he does not expect Jake Haener to be at practice on Monday. Right. I'm wondering if that means that we see more Taysom Hill at quarterback on Monday, because it's a convenient day to mix him in, or if they just split the day between Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler. Either would be good ideas. But now that we've seen Taysom kind of get this first rep under center, I'm just curious to see if we start seeing a little bit more of him, especially while Jake's out on Monday.
Yeah, I was going to make a really bad dad joke, like a CSI thing. I said Taysom was coming downhill.
It was downhill. Yeah, that's not a bad dad joke. That's a great observation.
Yeah, he's just somebody that, like, you just think that, well, just like some of these players, like this, I saw a video the other day, and it's like, how much time does DeMario have left? How much time does Cam have left? How much more effective can Tyrann Mathieu be and stuff? And so I think Taysom Hill's in that conversation too, because you think maybe he's gonna fall off, or maybe he's not going to be as effective, or defense is going to figure it out. And that was a good sign for Taysom today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that dude, and look, he's been battling contact all off season now, because he's been running routes. He's being jammed at the line of scrimmage, all this other stuff. And so, yeah, I agree. He's typically in that conversation amongst those other 30-plus-year-old players and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, when it comes to Taysom, I just don't doubt it anymore.
Yeah, just freight train coming through. Man, don't stand on the tracks.
Man, so good.
Yeah, it was good.
Tay train.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Tay. I'm glad you brought up Alante too, because I think Alante has been stringing together some good days. But we pointed this out earlier in camp, like just a few days ago, that it looked like he was taking on more of a leader role, and the fact that he's one of the first to hit the field and one of the last to hit the field. And look, I get it. We said it before. It's like, you are an outside corner. You want to play outside corner, and they moved him to the slot last year. That's not obviously where he wanted to play, but he said he embraced the role this year. And I think that's what Dennis Allen said, and just embracing it and just coming in here and being a sponge. And so, I think when you talked about all those players like Penning and Olave and all these other guys there, this tone was set back when this last season ended.
Yeah,
when
very
Mickey
true.
and Dennis kind of said, if you're going to be here, you better be here, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it was on them, right? Because I think the players had a lot to do with it too. Guys like Cam, DeMario, I mean, again, or even Alvin, but like, this team is, a lot of the players on here are sick of losing, right?
Yeah,
you know, like, and I don't blame them. They got to do something different. And so, again, they need Chris Olave to take the next step. They need Trevor Penning to take the next step. They need Alante to be on the top of his game. They are banking a lot on the youth. And I remember writing a column on Saints News Network that just kind of looking at all the youth pieces on there that are year three and from like year 2 to year 3, just that core, that nucleus that just has to step up. You need Isaiah Foskey this year. You do need Nick Saldiveri kind of in some aspects, but you know, unfortunately, the calf injury has kept him out. But this team, if they can get the youth right, does paint a better picture for the future. It's been a while since they've had a draft like 2017, but if they can get some of these pieces to at least hit in some aspects, it gives them a much better outlook. And I don't want to tell you that they're going to start becoming a dynasty, or they're just going to be, but it sets you up for at least a chance and better success.
Yeah. And that's the most that you can ask for. And I thought Alante was an absolute star on the podium today. I thought he was fantastic. And he spoke a lot about, to your point, that it was really a couple weeks before reporting for camp that he really sat down, prayed, really figured it out with himself of like, just embrace what you have in front of you.
He's got amazing talent.
Yeah, man, just incredible. And he even talked about like, no, I'm a great outside corner, but they want me in the slot, and I'm going to give everything that I've got playing in the slot. Like, it's a very different tone for him.
Yeah.
And I think it's working for him. I mean, he looks fantastic out there. He's constantly jawing. Him and Chris Olave have been, singling each other out, like making sure that they're going one-on-one and stuff. He said that today after a rep, Olave walked up to him and was like, let's keep going. Like, let's make each other great and everything. And he loves that. He said he wants some Rashid Shaheed snaps too, though. He wants some of that speed and everything. And I think that that's great. Like, I think that like that's the kind of stuff that you want to see between these players. And like what's going to sell sometimes are, they were shouting at each other, they were arguing and whatever. But the reality is, like, even when they were shouting and kind of going back and forth about holding like a B and all these other things, they were also going over the route. Like, here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm doing it. Well, here's what I'm trying to do, and all this stuff. Like, they were kind of like literally making each other better all throughout it. And so I just thought that like that has been such a big trend that we have continuously seen with Alante, and now him coaching up other guys and all this other stuff. Like, it's cool to see. It's just like the tone is so different for so many of these players. And because the tone is so individually different, the tone as a whole in practice feels so different than the training camps of the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's the thing, like everybody likes to say iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
This is actually like living it out and not just saying it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're seeing a lot of that come together right now. You know what I mean? And look, we had the officials here. It's Ron Torbert's crew. He's going to be here. They're going to be here through Sunday. So a lot more of the flags got thrown today. You saw more. That's why we brought up like the, legal formation or for Dallin Holker and stuff. But, it's just, you see where this team is kind of going and having, it's not just the younger players, but we've talked about second-year players in this defense or on this team, like the Nathan Shepard. Again,
Nathan Shepard was great
practice
today.
You talked about Colin Saunders earlier. Like, I thought he had a strong practice too. And so again, it's not just one or two people that are consistently like flashing and showing up every day. It's just about everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the encouraging thing. And right now the injury bug has been a real thing, like the hamstring, the soft tissue injuries, all these other things. And so hopefully they can get to a point where now the health doesn't like hinder them. You know what I mean? Because that's the concern is like no DeMario, it hurts, right? Like you miss him out on the field, but I thought the energy still was there for the defense for a while. You know what I mean? But I tell you, maybe if he was back on the field, maybe they wouldn't have had as much success in the back half. But still, we saw excellent linebacker play. I mean, it was Orgy, it was DeMarco Jackson, Malik Hudson laying some hits down and stuff. It was just a little bit of everything. I mean, it was they're pretty deep at this linebacking group. Monty Rice was also
Rice had a nice
we got to
day.
talk about him too.
We got a Michael Hodges PD today.
Yeah,
Pete Werner had a really nice play. I mean,
yes.
like it's been that unit for me has been the most improved. I think it's been the most improved unit for me so far. I'm tempted between them and edge rusher, but I think that linebacker unit has been the most improved because we're seeing it all without Demario Davis.
Yeah.
We're watching it with Chase Young and Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson over at defensive line. Makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Especially Chase Young, the way he's playing.
Right.
Great.
Right. One of the big things that we talked about before the season was if you lost either Demario or Cam or Tyrann Mathieu, who would have the biggest impact. And we talked about Demario, but this linebacker room has looked really, really good all around him and with him. And so I'm really surprised pleasantly, but not shocked because we know how good a coach Michael Hodges is. But my goodness, man, it has been, Willie Gay talked about the linebackers today being the coffee of the defense and everything. No, I'm sorry, not Willie Gay. It was Anthony Orgy talked about being the coffee of the defense. And for me, Willie Gay's the espresso. Like he just kicks everybody up a notch. But like every time you see these guys make a play, the first thing that they're doing is that they're flexing, they're yelling, they're pumped. And then the rest of the defense gets pumped. Like, all right, let's go make plays, like all these other things. I think they've been such good tone setters for what this defense has been doing that it has helped big time to kind of take this defense up to another level in the middle of the field. Yeah.
And we've talked about it on past episodes. I just feel like if Hodges can get this group where it needs to be, this is the last year we see Michael Hodges. Like he's got to get some type of bigger role.
Yeah,
and I hate for the Saints to lose him because he's been invaluable to them. But we just talk about the impact of different coaches on the staff. Yeah, and he's just one that just continues to bring the energy nonstop. practice after practice, and he's the one that's just inspires this defense a good bit. Like, I mean, you talk about, like, he's one I probably wouldn't want to get, yelled at either or told I was done, but he's also one of the first ones to go in there and tell you did a really good job.
That's what I would want him to tell me I did a good job.
Yes.
I would never forget that.
Yes.
I would never forget that.
Yeah, this is a guy that just brings it. And it's just, again, you look at
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think it would mean that much. I mean, he's just somebody, and you talk to every player, they all say the same about his energy, his passion, just what he's able to do. I mean, this is a coach that has a bright future.
Oh,
he wants to. I mean, I just feel like, and he's already been kind of in that conversation in the past. So
yeah,
could be.
And he's been a guy too that does a very good job of not always being the voice.
Right.
I'm saying sometimes DeMario is the voice. Sometimes Pete Werner needs to be the voice. Sometimes the player needs to be the voice. And I think we've heard that now from a few of the new coaches over on the offensive side too. This has been pretty consistent amongst the defensive coaching staff for a long time in terms of their approach there. But the fact of the matter is that, like, over in the offense now, you're hearing from just about every position coach talking about how they're the ones on the field.
Yeah. Like,
I listen to them just as much as I expect them to listen to me. And I think that has helped to, like, really move a needle in terms of the coaching staff approach from all of this as well. So, yeah. I thought it was excellent. Really, really strong day of practice today for New Orleans on both sides of the football.
Yeah. And I like seeing A.T. Perry respond. So he did the one-on-ones. Now he did get flagged for one play, but just, he was going up in Kool-Aid McKinstry on, like, every route and stuff. And so it was just good to see somebody like that also get, a good one. I had Kevin Austin Jr. He had 2 touchdowns. Oh
yeah, really nice.
Like, I don't want to glance over somebody like him, but in a receiver room that's been depleted, he's making some good plays and catches and stuff. And Marquez Callaway looked really good one-on-ones too. Yeah. I was like, we're just one touch away from him, in team drills. Be like, all right, well, Callaway's going to be number 4 or 5 now at this rate. Like,
listen, dude, I think, like, honestly, like, Callaway's a good fit for this offense. Like, as a guy that can go out there and block as well. Like, they know he can do that already. Like, being able to add him to a wide zone scheme makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, again, now it's on guys like, Equinemi St. Brown and Cedric Wilson. They got to get back. They got to get back in this lineup. Now, I'm not saying rush him, but just even like a Kendre Miller, like, he's got to get back in the lineup.
He's got to get back.
He's got to get back in the lineup because Jordan Mims is just running away, like, literally running away. Like, he's having some sharp ones. I thought Alvin Kamara had a really solid.
Oh, yeah.
He had that run where he just, like, it was like a 38-yard run. Nobody's catching him. That would have been a touchdown in my books.
He's still so smooth.
Yeah, still so smooth. Great.
Yeah.
Still looks good. But, for Jordan Mims, again, if I'm Kendre Miller, I'm a little bit worried, I guess, in some aspects. Like, I know the hamstrings are a problem, but, this is somebody early on that's gotten a hamstring. He's been kind of around the process, but we don't see him doing rehab, which, by the way, good news on, Brian Brzee. He returned to practice. He didn't do like individual or team or anything, but he was back out there, stretch walkthroughs. That's good to see. Shane Lemieux was also back too. He was working off the side. He had his helmet, but Juwan Johnson is building up more.
Yeah, big
he's
time.
Jogging more. He's running some more routes after practice. The Saints could get a real good shot in the arm if he gets back in here in the next couple of weeks. And it tracks probably with what we heard about, like, that 6 to 8 week time frame. Yep. But, man, just Jordan Mims doing some good things. But
Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.
That's the sound of your current hype level at the gas pump. But brace yourself for something fuel nominal, because Unleaded 88 is about to take the hype to a whole new level. Unleaded 88 is cheaper, cleaner, and greener than regular unleaded. Plus, it's homegrown, making Unleaded 88 the clear choice at the pump and totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88, brought to you by Iowa Corn.
Kendre Miller, like, does he need to worry about a spot right now? Or is it something where we're going to see how it plays out?
I think he's going to have a roster spot no matter what. Like, I think that this team hasn't really shown that they're willing to be this impatient with draft picks. They're they're typically very patient, sometimes to a fault, sometimes too patient with draft picks.
Yeah.
But I think this would be within the bounds of reason. Second year, all this stuff. So I think he's got a spot. But look, I don't think that it's out of the question for New Orleans to hold on to Jordan Mims on an active roster and say he's ahead of Kendre Miller until Kendre Miller's conditioning gets where they want it, until his acclimation is where they want it, all that other stuff. I'm not going to say that Kendre Miller's not going to make the roster. I think he will ultimately, but I'm not sure he's going to be the only running back behind Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams.
Yeah. No, and we've talked about that before, that, from a numbers perspective, especially with what Jordan Mims is able to do in all areas of the game.
Help you out in special teams
work. He can return kicks, all this other stuff. And look, I think this offense can be strong with Kendre Miller, but at this point, we also talked about, now that you're not in this, you're kind of behind in this offense too.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like super complex and complicated compared to past offenses, but at the same time, you need to be able to show some things. And if he can't be at least ready for the first preseason game, then we're really going to see what Jordan Mims is made of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of those things where it's like, okay, he has an opportunity here, at least without Kendre Miller there, that, he could say, okay, now this guy is legitimately a threat to make the roster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it'll play out, but it is something, this offensive line is another area that we look at. Today was the first time we saw Oli Udoh taking like first team left guard snaps kind of. Like, I mean, just he's done a little bit here and there, but like in walkthroughs, he's out there. And finally what Dennis Allen had said that was going to happen back at minicamp and stuff. But this offensive line has a lot of moving parts and pieces. Landon Young, I think we joke, or he even said something. We talked to him after our practice and said he's going to be the new James Hurst. Like he's literally being the new James Hurst, playing left tackle, right tackle, left guard, and all these other things. But this offensive line, you're doing a little bit better, opening some more holes. And again, it was every runner, like Jacob Kabodi, James Robinson, but Kamara and Mims in particular, they're having the most success running the ball today.
Big time. Yeah. I feel like there's a big gap between Kamara and the rest, but I feel like Mims has been really fun to watch. Yeah, the offensive line today was interesting. We've seen it, this was the first time that we really saw Oli Udoh move in the left guard snaps without conditions. Like he was in there yesterday, or he was in there. Wednesday, when Eric McCoy was getting a vet rest day, they had Lucas Patrick taking snaps at center. So Udoh was in at left guard. So it was like kind of a weird, like like throwing everything together of the offensive line in that case. But this is, but
that's where it's going.
Yeah, that's right. But I think this was really the first time that we saw it to where it was like, okay, let's take Lucas Patrick out and put Oli Udoh in. And then they eventually put Lucas Patrick back in. I think Udoh, really good swing tackle. I haven't liked what I've seen so far on the interior from him.
Yeah.
And that echoes some of the concerns that I heard from folks over in Minnesota that cover the Vikings in talking about, like, he's a fine tackle. It's just they played him out of position on the inside in Minnesota. And then so now seeing him on the inside, I'm actually at this point kind of like, no, keep him at right tackle, because he's actually performed pretty well there, along with backing up Trevor Penning, along with Landon Young, and being able to move Landon Young around and all that. So I'm curious to see if they continue to put him on the inside, and then if so, if he develops there, because obviously that would move the needle for him quite a bit to be able to play those multiple positions.
Yeah, and I think the Saints are going to continue to cross train him. And I think that's another thing too, is it's like you need all these other plans in place, right? You just don't have anything settling. And he was playing right tackle. Cam got him on one rep, and Udoh got called for holding too, and Cam was like, per usual, hold and stuff. It was like, oh man, they were just drawing some stuff today, and so. But again, they have to figure that out. And the thing is, the more versatile you can be on the offensive line, the more value you bring to the table.
Sure.
And so,
no doubt.
And it's interesting because they haven't, like, they had some younger guys like the Nori Newellis or the Mark Evans that they kind of gave up on Mark Evans, and then Newelli, they just didn't have him stay on and stuff. But there's a lot to figure out on this offensive line. There's still a lot to figure out at this wide receiver position. It looked like they were working out tight ends today as another position that they're still looking at. And so I think this offense has still a lot of moving parts and pieces, and hopefully it can be enough to build up to where they have an offense in the first week. But I tell you, I mean, it's promising, but yet I'm still unsettled by it all.
Yeah, I'm still pretty concerned about the offensive line, particularly on the interior and on the edge. I mean, I think, like, Taliesin Fuanga had a nice day today, but just had some of those like susceptible moments that you're just kind of like, oh, like you don't want to see. But you have to remember he's a rookie and it's 8 training camp practices in, and like, what's this going to look like in a week? Probably completely different. You know what I mean? Penning had a couple of nice moments. He's really great in those play action reps.
Yes.
Because he gets to charge forward. You got to sell the run game, right? So typically whenever you drop back for a pass or you call a passing play, you'll see offensive linemen drop back into passing sets. But when they run the ball, they attack. They either fire to their gap or they fire into like the player that they're if it's man scheme, then they go straight to the player that they're blocking. In play action, you have to sell that it's a run play. So you're going to, as an offensive line, lunge forward. You're going to shoot to the gap. You're going to shoot to that offensive or that defensive lineman. And so in those moments where you run the play action, he's so comfortable.
Yeah.
So comfortable. And then it allows the pocket to move. It allows the quarterback to get on the move, all this other stuff. And so like that stuff has mitigated a lot of it. The issue is when it's just a straight drop back, which look, you're not going to run play action on 3rd and 10. You're not going to run play action on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. Your offensive lineman has to be able to be good enough to stop the defensive lineman in front. That's where my main concern is right now, is are they good enough to do that? Because we haven't seen the offensive line have as much success as they have had in the play action game when they have to sit back, drop into their pass set, and react to what's going on. There was one point, I think it was Peyton Turner, fired to his outside shoulder, got him to commit his hands to the outside and then spun back inside. And those speed moves to the inside shoulder have always been Trevor Penning's weak point.
Yeah.
Always been his weak point since UNI. And so he came in, he did that spin on the inside, boom, direct line to the quarterback. So it's just like, these are the little things that I'm waiting on to see get better. And so far I haven't seen it consistently enough, but like I said, 8 practices. This is the first grouping of padded practices. Let's see what things look like in a week from now.
And you bring up a good point too, because you look at this team last year, they weren't good on 1st and 2nd down.
Right.
They just weren't. Like,
right.
I mean, it was just, I guess predictable is the word to use, but they just weren't also efficient too.
Yeah.
And so we saw a lot of 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10, 3rd and behind the sticks. Like it was just, again, a more predictable offense that was out there. And so you brought up a great point that they do need to bring success, particularly with Penning on that side, if they're going to run some play action or do some different things that cater to him and such. I don't worry as much about Taliesin Fuanga. I just,
it's going to come for him.
It'll be fine. I think he's going to be the real deal. I still am unsettled about left guard, although if Lucas Patrick is the guy there, I think he'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Is that maybe the preferred thing? I don't know. And right tackle is really what's most important to me, is can Trevor Penning be that person for them? And again, we talked about it. We pointed it out. Maybe not so much first game, but although you do have Jadeveon Clowney, I wonder where he's going to go up against, you know what I'm saying, how that's going to work out. But weeks 2 and 3, you got Dallas and Philly. Like, you got to have this offensive line good to go. And of course, part of that is game planning. But, you know, that's where the concern comes in, is that now you've got 2 really good defenses that are going to be rushing Derek Carr, presumably. And you're going to have to make sure that Penning knows what his assignments are, and those type of moves that you were talking about that kind of fool him a little bit. He's got to get those refined a good bit. So.
Yeah. And look, we'll see if he's going to get there. There's time. You know, it's not like this team has to field an offensive line for a regular season game this weekend. You know,
not yet.
That's not the situation. And so as long as they keep moving forward, keep advancing, and keep getting better now, it'll be okay. But I'm just, where I am right now, I'm a little bit concerned about where this offensive line is.
No, I agree. And I mean, as we see more and more of camp, I'm not that worried about the defense.
Yeah.
Like, I really am not. Like, I want to see
I'm excited
more from Peyton Turner.
Yeah,
I still want to see more from Isaiah Foskey, but we said this the other day, more from Turner, right? Because Turner's your former first round pick. He's in a contract year.
Right.
I would expect him obviously to be the sub rush guy in the middle. Like, he's going to have more of a responsibility. But if they can get Isaiah Foskey coming along, which again, he's got the confidence now. Like, he's playing. Yeah, he actually explained it today. That he's just like sitting there dissecting and analyzing every play and stuff going in from last year. That was, you know what I'm saying? Which is tough to do, especially as a rookie, because you're trying to worry about not making a mistake, and that leads you to make a mistake.
Yeah, it's such a big thing. He spoke about the difference in reframing the thought of, like, have a bad play and then go into the next play thinking, I don't want to have a bad play again.
Yep.
As opposed to have a bad play. And then now this year, he's going into the next play going, had a bad play. I'm going to make this one.
Yeah.
Everything. And it's a very, very different thing. It's funny here on this campus at UC Irvine. I used to train stage technicians all the time. And this was a big thing to where like anytime that you were doing a show or something like that, and you were like a light board operator or something, person that presses go on the board that makes all the lights change in the theater. Sometimes a board operator would go a little early or take the cue a little late or whatever. And then I would have like these young board operators that would like freak out, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to, yada, yada, yada. And it was immediately like, no, stop. It's all good. It's not about what you do wrong. It's about what you do next. Move. Like, keep going, everything. And it was like a lot of like training them to have that short memory. And that is such the case with football, such the case with basketball, with life as a whole, of like, boy, if you have a mistake and all you think about is, I don't want to make that mistake again, you probably won't make that mistake again, but you'll make another one.
Sure.
Because you're not paying attention to what you need to be doing right. You're just trying not to do something wrong. And it's just going to lead you to doing something else wrong. You're going to be really successful in not doing the same thing wrong twice. You're going to be very unsuccessful otherwise, period. Everything. And so it's really cool, like, to hear Isaiah Foskey kind of talking about how like his reframe, his framework now is, I didn't make that play. That's fine. I'm going to go make this one. And he's been doing it here big time.
Yeah. And for somebody in theater, the show must go on.
Show must go on. That's right. Yeah. 100%.
He's, again, one of the many players we're going to be so excited to see at preseason, just to see. But, you know, it's this team position wise, well, on the defensive side, I've really liked what I've seen from Kool-Aid McKinstry. Like, I just feel like they're deep, and they're doing this without Marshawn Lattimore, which is still a big piece. And then again, being able to have success without DeMario. And so I look forward to continue, but most all of my questions, like they were when we previewed training camp, were on the offensive side of the ball. And so they got to find out and figure out, like, now the big thing for me is they had this pretty good day. Can they do it again tomorrow?
Build on it.
Can they do it again on Saturday? Can they do it again on Sunday? It was good, but now, like this team, week to week last year, you were good this one week. Now can you do it again the next week? Because we just didn't know what kind of team they were going to be last year. It's like you could have been the team that played the Patriots and beat up on them, or you could have been the team that struggled against the Rams and just could never get out of the hole, and you were just never in the game to begin with. You know? So special teams, got to talk about that. Obviously, another Matt Hayball and Charlie Smith day. And of course, if you guys have some questions, please drop them in the chat. But Charlie Smith missed a couple today. One that was from 59, and then the other one was extra points. So a little bit more. I mean, he has some velocity on his kicks. Like he can do it, but not as good of a showing today for him. The long ones I understand. I mean, but he has the leg for it, and the operation is a little bit interesting because you had Matt Hayball doing one half, and then Lou Headley holding for the second half, but Matt Hayball, man, I talked about this one day. I don't remember exactly when, but his kicks are just insane. Like, he has these spiral kicks when he's going for the distance way back in his own territory, and then he'll change it once he gets into like positive territory to these like helicopter over end punches, just look something crazy. It's harder to field in. So, that battle, and they're getting more kickoff work, which, Hall of Fame game, obviously there's interesting, it's bringing about a controversy topics, all those different things about penalties. But, I don't know if I'd tell you that there's much movement on the special teams front. That's another one in the preseason. How are you going to balance that out? Are you going to give Headley a full day of punting, or are you going to give half for each of them? That's something I really want to see too. But I still say Ty goes to runner. Obviously, at the punter battle, at the kicker battle, it's still Blake Grupe. Yeah,
I think Blake Grupe is really firmly entrenched. I think it's got to really go downhill from here. But the thing that's really nice about this is that, like, Charlie Smith can be around forever, for 3 years. I think he's under contract, and he's an exemption. So he doesn't count against a 53-man roster. He kind of acts as a part of the practice squad, but doesn't count against any spots. I don't think you can elevate him as a player like you can from the practice squad. So he's really got to be off to the side there, but there's enough time here. And I was talking with, I was doing radio this morning or earlier today. And one of the things that we were talking about was like, look, if Blake Grupe develops really well over the course of the next couple of years, and Charlie Smith develops really well over a couple of years, and Blake Grupe does it while out there and demands a big contract because of it, the Saints could say, no, thanks. We'll go to this other guy that we feel really good about, that we've invested 3 years in, that has also developed really well, and let him go get his money out on the market. And then they can pivot to Charlie Smith at that time if they feel that that's appropriate. So it just gives them a lot of flexibility to have this guy there. And listen, I know for Charlie Smith, it's like, hey, I didn't come all the way to America to sit on a practice squad, but he'll sit on a practice squad, and that will work. And the Saints won't have any qualms about it. I think they would be in a good position with that. Yeah,
because it's one thing to do it in practice, but when it's a game on the line situation, can you make that kick? You know what I mean? Can you make the game winner, the go-ahead field goal, all those other things when you're in a hostile environment and such? And so, look, I think Grupe obviously had his struggles last year. That operation wasn't as crisp as it should have been, you know what I mean? Like it was with Will Lutz and Blake Gillikin. And so this year, I would expect marked improvement from that duo of Grupe and Headley, obviously. But again, we're going to find out. That's one of the many questions, one of the many answers we'll find out through the course of preseason, more practices, more input. But day 8, man, a lot of cool stuff happened. A lot of good things happened. You can go back through our notes and stuff as we kind of get down. You got a question in here. We want to make sure.
Yeah, Yella wanted to ask about coaching contracts, if they get one, and what is Clint's. So they do get contracts.
Right.
They're typically not public in the way
really
that play. Yeah, they're very rare. And typically, if they are made public, they're made public at the time of signing. So it's something unique. Like Dave Canales got a 6-year contract. That was something unique. Also gave you an idea of. That tells you about what they think of Dave Canales. That tells you about what they think about their quarterback. That tells you about what they think about their rebuild that's ahead of them, all those other things. So that became public because it was unique. But Clint Kubiak's contract is not public. I don't think Dennis Allen's contract has even ever been made public and stuff like that. So that means these are probably standard contracts. And so, yes, they have them. But they're not super ironclad. Like when somebody gets hired away, they get hired away. That's it, because it's a promotion. And so that's it. Whereas like if you're a second string running back and a team wants to hire you as their lead running back, you ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? So it's very, very different the way that these are handled. So they're not made public, because otherwise it would kind of create a lot of miscommunication about what is and isn't and all these other things. So that's what
if I had to guess, and this is just guessing, don't take my word for it necessarily, but I think DA probably got like a 4-year window.
I would imagine that.
Just because it would make sense. It's like we give a 4-year window, and he could get a contract extension. After this year, I guess that would be, that would be right around. So it's getting closer to that point. But again, these contracts, they're not always public knowledge. You know what I mean? It's especially because of the fluidity of the NFL and all this other stuff. Yeah. So it's not as much of a thing. So another one.
Rose City wants to know if Traquan Smith is going to come back now that they brought back Marquez. I'll tell you what, I think it's more likely that Traquan Smith comes back than Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I think we joked today and said, it's about time we'll get the Tommy Lee Lewis signing, right?
Yeah. Bro, the Tommy Lee Lewis is back before Anthony Davis, thanks New Orleans, tweet is going to hit big time. John wants to know if Isaiah Stallbird makes the practice squad. I think he's in line to. I think he has a good chance to do it.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. I think that he has a lot to offer as a versatile, like that hybrid style that he has, the linebacker safety combo. But he's been used more at linebacker here. Yeah. And again, I think it's a guy that is going to benefit from some of these developmental reps and such, and preseason action. Right. I think he has extreme amount of talent. But now it's like for some of these guys, the undrafted rookies, it's like you have such a small sample size to make an impact. And so it's like, for instance, a guy like Rico Payton, maybe not having the greatest camp, obviously, but he's going to have more preseason reps. And if he doesn't make it, he doesn't hang on the practice squad. It doesn't mean it's the end, but something like the UFL might do him really well, or the CFL might help him out a little bit more too. And so, look, I like Stallbird. Like he's a great dude. Like his interview was, if you go back and watch it, like he had his kid come on and stuff. Like he's a guy that you just kind of get behind for sure, right? But they're going to have their opportunity. But again, you look at that linebacker room, it's crowded. Like an Anthony Orji, the way he's playing, it's kind of hard to put a guy like Stallbird ahead of him, especially if you're talking about Orji not making the roster. He might be priority practice squad, right? Yep. And it depends on how many positions they keep, obviously, on that one. But he has a good outlook. He just has to show more. And of course, I think we're getting like 22 practices. So This is 8 of 22, including the preseason games. There's so much more football left and so much more ahead of us. And now we're starting to get longer practices and all this other stuff. So, we'll see how that kind of goes.
Yeah, they had 4 team periods today, plus the development period, and Derek Carr got a 5th team.
Yeah, and one-on-ones,
and they did one-on-ones. They literally did one-on-ones all at the same time. It was so cool. At one end of the field, they had wide receivers and corners doing one-on-ones. In the middle of the field, they had running backs and linebackers, and I think tight ends as well, doing like either blocking one-on-ones. I think it was blocking one-on-ones in like the middle of the field. And then over on the left side of the field, they had offensive line and defensive line doing blocking one-on-ones. So fun to watch all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anything else that stood out kind of in your notes? I think that, just going back through all of it, I mean, there's so many different ones. Oh, you don't have your book? Oh my goodness. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't even know.
No, it happens. It happens. We got it all up in here.
Yeah.
Sometimes
look at what I did without notes.
Yeah.
Look at what I did without notes.
Can't argue with that, man. Can't argue with that. But again, I think still the highlights of today were the fact that the offense being able to respond, and then Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler just having good days. And I think, again, we looked at them completely different styles of quarterback. But, Haener makes some really solid throws on the run, runs on the throw. That's not a thing. Throws on the run, right? But I liked some of the reps, and we talked. You pointed out, too, like his ability to navigate the pocket.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Just poise is what comes to mind for him. You know what I mean? And so I like seeing that from Rattler. And again, so many people are making so big a deal about this. And I think from a long-term perspective, it just depends, because we've talked about it. I think Derek Carr is going to probably be the quarterback next year, right? Like Dennis Allen is going to be the coach next year. For
2025?
Yeah. And again, so after that, I don't know. We'll see.
I think there's a whole other quarterback in the conversation.
Maybe so.
There's a whole other quarterback.
The Saints, I mean, they're a team that wants to find the free agent to be able to lead their team. I don't know if they're going to embrace the young guy to come in and take over. I just don't know.
That's where the new coaching staff, I think, has an opportunity to prove something to the organization about how they could change the thing. But will they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Will they?
It's like saying if Clint Kubiak would be the coach. You don't know. I mean, that's maybe 2026, unless they absolutely tank this year. Then I think that conversation accelerates a lot more.
Sure.
And then that's when you say, okay,
100%.
maybe Derek Carr is not the new quarterback coach or new quarterback for the new coach that would come in, but long ways away from it. But it is a huge proving ground for a lot of players, a lot of coaches. But DA's number one, I think, obviously there. And I think if Alvin doesn't get anything done before, like, it's a good big year for him too. And so, but I think they've got this 2-year window, is why I say that, because they've done it with Cam, they've done it with DeMario and Tyron. Like, I think they're trying to keep this core intact, or this at least grouping together this year and next year. That's why I say that Derek should be the quarterback next year. Dennis Allen should be the coach next year.
Yeah, give him the offense for a second year and all those other.
And if it don't work after that, blow it up. If they want to rebuild or they want to do something, I don't know if they will, but they're kind of in this loop where it's like they can be something, but they're not something. And so maybe they can be better this year, but nobody's talking about them. Yeah. Nobody cares. Like, if you look at
they have to make them talk.
There's arguably more hype over Atlanta than there is over New Orleans right now. Because of Kirk Cousins, right? And Raheem Morris out there.
And Michael Penix for some reason. There's a whole lot of that. So this before we wrap up here, Ro, is the offensive line more doom and gloom or wait and see? I'd definitely say wait and see. I know I sound very doom and gloom about it because I'm not impressed by it right now.
Sure.
But I'm not impressed by it right now, and I am waiting to see if I will be as things continue to develop.
No, I agree, and think the takeaway for me is seeing Carl Granderson becoming better. You know what I mean?
Big time.
Him and Chase Young
starting
being the
strong.
real deal. Like, again, I think that's my takeaways, is the fact that this defensive line is getting better, getting after it. And again, I think we pointed this out, that I think this is a nastier defense that they have, right? And this is why I'm not as worried about them. I do want to see Brian Brzee get in there, but I like what I'm seeing from Christian Boyd. We hadn't really talked about him a little bit, but I like what we're seeing out of Christian Boyd a lot. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like the defense, if they filled it today, even with their depth the way it is, I feel like it's still a strong contender for a unit that will do exceptionally well. The question for me is, does this offense catch up, and can the offense be supportive of the defense because we haven't seen that in the past years.
Yeah, got to be complimentary. Got to be able to play complimentary football. I like what we've seen from the scheme. I love what we've seen from Clint Kubiak's system. I love what we've seen from the scaffolding of building off of plays that they called earlier on in practice and all this stuff. I love the multiple plays out of the individual looks and stuff like that. There's a lot of elements for this offense that you see in the most explosive offenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
The big thing is going to be execution, and I'm right there with you on that.
Yeah.
Will we see it? Is the offensive line going to hold up enough for them to be able to do it? Whatever it might be, that's going to be the biggest question mark. Is the execution, but the scheme, the system, so fun.
Yeah, that's the part. Is like, yes, the potential is there. It's like the door is open. Can they walk through it?
That's it.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. So that's the big telltale for me is can they do it? And I don't know. I mean, but we talked about defense. Chase Young. I've talked to some people inside the building, and just the vibe with him is over the top.
Dude, they're so happy
like
about it.
We've got veterans who've been here forever that are like super impressed with Chase Young. It's just been that good. And we talked about like the Saints. I had this weird prevailing theory is like they cured him in a way, like with his neck problems, and it's like now he gets to be the player that is probably going to get a gigantic payday if he continues to play like this.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and he like did the rehab, followed everything to a T, is what Dennis Allen said, excuse me, and everything. So like he clearly has trusted what the Saints have done for him this offseason. And so ideally that will pay off. Last thing, Yo wants to know how Jordan Howden is doing. I would say still working, still developing.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting a lot of opportunities out there. Dallin Holker made the big touchdown catch over him, but he was still in good position to make that play. It's just that Dallin Holker's arms are the longest arms in the freaking universe, and so now he's so he's able to make those. Some people understand. So he's able to make all those. So I think Howden's continuing to learn, continue to build, continuing to progress. I'm very excited to see where he goes. Over time.
Yeah, I see one other question from Roe. Just let's see, Cedric Wilson Jr. is I think a hamstring.
He's a groin injury.
St. Brown is the hamstring.
Yep.
And then Bub Beans is like leg shin.
Yeah, it's like a muscle. It said it's a muscle kind of in the shin area, like the front of the lower leg.
Right. And so those are the things. But yeah, just going back to Jordan Howden, I look forward to seeing more from him. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that I think will have a lot more reps in the preseason too. So I don't know if I'd say I'm concerned about some of these guys standing out in practice because it's a deep room, right? And I feel like Will Harris is a guy that's very underrated that has been
big time
quietly playing well too. But again, day 8 of Saints training camp has brought us a lot of gems. If you haven't seen, go to Locked On Saints and check out Ross's breakdown. And then if you haven't seen my plethora of notes that will
outstanding
take you forever to read, probably like it's like 3K words.
Outstanding. Incredible.
But as much detail, like all the red zone plays, all the team series plays, all of the things, just nuggets, things I pick up on and stuff. But check those out at Saints News Network. Or Saints on Sports Illustrated now is what we're labeled, I think, if you will. And so, look, I also want to take the time to remind, I put it out there on social media. I'm not going to call it X, but Twitter, the open invite for the SoCal meetup. I'm hearing a lot of good things about it, but August 8th, if you're in the area, SoCal, Saints fans, calling you out, Fullerton, California, over at Bourbon Street Bar and Grill. Look, we're going to be there from 5 to 8. We might try to figure out what we're doing. I don't expect some type of professional show, but we're going to do a show from there.
Maybe like a show and then like a live show and then like a Q&A after that's just for the people there.
Yeah, exactly.
Some nice stuff
It'd
like
be
that.
cool. But
like,
come mingle, awesome. Come meet us and stuff. Like, we're not above anybody. Like we love our fans and stuff. But just want to remind everybody about that. I got some merch that's going to be given away by FOCO. So there'll be some cool stuff, some cool Saints swag out there. And so wish I had something for everybody, but pack it out. Show Saints fans that there are, or show the Saints that there are a bunch of fans out here in SoCal. That's my biggest message to you. So hopefully see you there. But that is going to do it for day 8 for us. And we'll be back obviously on Saturday and Sunday for more practice breakdowns. You can follow all of our information on the podcast world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check the description. We put all the chapters in there if you want to go back on past episodes and see what our take are on some of the other topics and stuff. But on behalf of Ross Jackson, I'm John Hendricks. That's going to do it for today's episode of Second and Saints. Y'all stay good, people.